Today we're starting part 3 of the Woodworker for Beginners series. Build your own toolbox with Harbor Freight tools, all bought for under $100.
The price is wrong, bitch.
If you missed the first 2 episodes of this and you're wondering how the heck we got to this point, check out these videos right here. See how we got a pile of scrap wood in our garage to this point. Speaking of this point, where are we right now? Right now we have a completely closed-in box that has a lid and a base. But we don't want to just keep taking our lid on and off all the time and nothing keeps it straight. The plan is I'm going to put this piano hinge that I've had laying around in the corner of the garage for the past 10 years, and I'm actually going to put it to some use and put it in here.
It's about time.
Hey, it is about time. I mean, I just couldn't get the ball in the hole.
What that's going to do for me is provide a hinge that spans pretty much the whole length of the box, the whole width of the box. That should give nice, real strong, solid connection, and it should fold almost all the way back flat. So if we just take the hinge and we screw it to the box, you'll see there's a big gap here in the side now. We don't want that. How we avoid that is we go in the back and we chisel out an area off the top and the bottom that this hinge can nest inside so that the box still sits flat. You can measure this if you want to. I'm just kind of eyeballing center right about there. And then I've got the hinge, making sure it's in the right way. I've got the hinge folded completely over. So the right way meaning like that, that's what it'll look like when it's closed. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold this in place and then I'm gonna gently score with my knife, a couple passes on each end, making sure not to move the hinge.
My fingers hurt. What's that?
We've got our piece on the bench here. We've got our line over there going down to the other side. I'm in my line. I've got this edge of the chisel lined up with the back line that we scored across the back of the hinge. And then I'm just gonna give it one little tap and check and see. And that put me pretty much down to my line. I'm gonna do the same on this side. We've got our line chopped, so I'm gonna come in here now with my chisel and I'm just gonna pare down to our cut line just to establish our depth of cut and get down to our line. I'm just coming through our line that we scored with our depth gauge and taking my chisel and I'm just barely tapping it.
All you gotta do is just tap it in.
I'm not looking to split the wood all the way across. I'm looking to come down maybe a quarter of the way through the wood. I'm moving over not even a full chisel width as I move across. I'm moving probably 3/4 to half a chisel width as I go through. So that way the one side I've already chopped helps guide my chisel. And the other side chops. So now I'm going to come at it from the inside here and do the same. So you can see a big chunk's already coming off here. But we're going to flip it down now and we're going to go back around to the outside in. And I'm going to find my line and I'm just going to tap the rest of this off. Find somewhere to rest your box up against. All right, and then I'm going to take a wide chisel. You could use an inch, inch and a half, whatever. I'm going to go bevel down, right, like this. And I'm just going to plane off, chisel off, slice off, whatever you want to say, all that wood in the middle until both sides are down to our cut line. I've lined up the edges, essentially, and I've put a clamp on it just to hold it in place. And I've got some scrap wood underneath here holding the lid up at the same level. So now what I'm going to do is just take my square and my knife, if I can find it. Take my knife, bring my square up to that cut line, and I'm going to transfer that line over of our hinge to the other side here. And I'm going to do the same on the back side here. So now I'm going to follow the same process that we did before. I'm going to take our marking gauge, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to score a line on the inside and the outside. And then I'm just going to go around the chisel, just the same process as that, and chisel all this out. I went out to the store and bought a box of these, like just brass little wood screws here. And I'm just going to put, I've got the hinge taped on the top of the lid here with just some blue painter's tape. I'm going to put a screw in either end to make sure that I'm lined up right. And then I can take that tape off and go through and actually screw them all in. My drill here, I just put a tiny little bit in the end, and I've got my hinge lined up. I'm going to put the bit right in the middle. And just drill a small little pilot hole there. That'll help against any cracking or anything as you put your screw in. And the hole should guide the screw straight down until we can tighten it up. I'm going to do the other side now. Just screwing or drilling really slow. No need to rush and force it down. And the reason I'm not putting all the screws in now is I may have to adjust this or move something around, and it's easier to only have to move or take out 3 screws and adjust things and move things around than if you have them all in and then realize you're just a little bit off. You're lined up, you got the same gap both sides. I'm going to put one in here now. We got a little bit of a gap or misalignment there. We can try to move that over, and this side's out a little bit. This far side here is out a little bit. So we can loosen those screws and kind of shift it over and see what we can do to adjust that. But I'm pretty happy with that gap. It's a little gappy here, but I don't mind that. It's not terrible. Now, if you want that to be even less, just go through and plane your groove down a little bit deeper, and that'll make that a little tighter. Lid is opening and closing nice. I had a little bit of a lip here and here where the lid was just not too perfect. I just took it over on the plane back there, clamped it to the bench, and just planed those edges smooth so that way our latches and everything close up good. I got these little spring type handles. They just spring back, so they'll always stay down unless when you want to pick it up, then you can lift it. I'm just use the same brass screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, mount it on the side. Figure out a spot you want to mount it. You know, you can put it, you know, right up to the edge if you want it to. You can bring it down a little bit. I might come down maybe 1/2 inch from this upper edge, center it, and put it there. I think that looks pretty good right there. Got my little square here set up to be 1/2 inch. And I'm just kind of leaving a little pencil mark where I want it. I measured from the front, measured from the same spot. 5 5/8. So there's a rivet on the front of this hinge. I can just put that on our center line and then bring the top of this hinge to our cross line here that we put 1/2 inch down. Line it up there and then put a few marks with my pencil, and then I'll come through and drill some pilot holes and put some screws in. I'm going to use caution here not to drill through the box. So we don't want to drill a hole all the way through. We just want to go in just deep enough to get it to set and not crack. So I'm going to put the handle on with 1 screw first. So what we'll do is we'll bring the square down to that, and then perfect. Now we know we're dead on right there. Drill our pilot hole. Make sure you don't drill through your finger on the other side. Put our screw in. And now the other two, bottom two, just drill your holes and screw it in. So I've gone through a couple different things, but I ended up going to Ace the other day and just getting these simple clasps. So these do come with their own screws, and they do have an eyelet to put a padlock if you wanted that on there. So do we do it like 1 inch or so away from the side? Do we go a little more in the middle here? I kind of like that. And we're about 4 inches from the side. I like that. That looks good. 4 inches from the side, we'll go with that. I've closed up our box and I put a clamp on the end here just to keep everything kind of in line. Then we're gonna measure over 4 inches, which is gonna put us, let's see, I want it 4 inches from the side there. So right about there. Put a little mark. So we want to line this up where the edge is just flush with the top of the box, like just below it there. Then I'm going to put, I've got a little mark there. I'm going to drill a pilot hole. Make sure it's lined up, and we're going to put the one screw in, just like we did the handle. Then the other one is going to go there. My camera got a little too hot there. I had to let it cool off, but off camera, I had to figure out how to add these on anyway. So basically you can close those down. They each have latches for locks. Off camera, I put this on.
You hate me, don't you? No, I don't hate you.
So this acts as a stop for the lid so that it can only go back that far. It's basically just a curved piece of metal with a little wing nut in here. You can stop it at any point, just tighten that wing nut and the lid won't move. You can have it all go all the way back, and I set it up in a way that I wanted it to have a little bit of like lean back so that we can get to tools easier. And then when we close it, you can see there, it just follows that down, curves around, and closes down the latch. So if you see what I did here, basically one side screws to the bottom, and you want to make sure that that is leaned inside towards the box. And then the other side in here is just a bracket with a little stud on it, which this wing nut kind of tightens to. Just about 8.5. A little mark. And then this goes right there. I want it flush with the edge, but just a hair over. Just so that the lid, as the lid closes down, it clears that. And just like with all the other stuff we did, we're gonna do one screw first. Adjust our straightness. Make sure everything's lined up where we want it to be. It gives us a little bit of wiggle room. Yeah, that one's a little gappy on this side.
Where were you on that one, dipshit?
Okay. We're going to have to recess those in just a little bit. Take our little chisel. I've got the hinge traced out. I'm just trying to go around it. Obviously, you're tracing a round object with a square or flat chisel. So when you get to the long grain here, just go real slow. Don't press too hard, or you risk splitting that off. I've got the bevel towards the inside of the hinge. And I'm just going around marking everything the best I can. Then I'm going to come through here, and I'm going to just bevel down real gentle, pair up to my line. There we go. Nice fit. No more gap. Everything on the front closes down nicely. All right, put this all back together and we'll start dividing and put some areas for our tools. I think what I'm gonna do is I need to build little dividers to hold all these things in place so they don't fall around. I'm going to get some little 3/4 inch scrap, plane it down, and essentially just cut it to little size. Cut it to size. So I'm going to have one here, one coming up here. That'll hold the plane and the drill kind of in place. Maybe one across in an angle here to kind of protect things. And basically just keep everything nice and divided in a nice place for itself. I'm not going to film all that because it's basically just taking a bunch of little stock like this, planing it down, cutting it down, putting little grooves in, drilling some holes and screwing it, or maybe just gluing it down with some super glue, maybe a little bit of wood glue. I'll be back when I'm done and I'll kind of show you what I did and walk you through it. But I think it would be like a 5-hour video if I just sat here showing you how to cut every individual piece. Like I said, your box could differ from the size of mine, so it's all going to depend on how you want to lay yours out as well. So I've been at this for a couple hours, just cutting little pieces of wood, super gluing them on, and here is our final result. Are you ready? Oh yeah. To start off, we've got our plane in here. It just pulls in and out. Behind it is our drill with the charger. Everything's perfect, lines up, it locks into place. The charger has its own little spot behind the handle. Then over here, I've got the chisels, our bench chisels that we're going to use most often. This tray actually pulls out, and you can see what I have underneath. So in the middle here, I've got my spot for our marking knife. And over here, I've got a spot to hold our sharpening stone in place, both of our additional mallet handles, and then behind next to that is all of our carving chisels. To the full left here, I've got marking gauge, screwdriver, our bevel gauge, pencil, and a measuring tape. Up on the top, I've got our pull saw. We've got both of our squares. I just basically took a piece of wood, glued it on there, and used the saw to cut a length in there, and then the blades were just big enough to fit in there a little bit. I put some sandpaper in there and kind of sanded it to make it not super tight, but just tight enough that it holds it in place pretty good. Our mallet, we've got our coping saw behind the saw there, and then down here I just again took a block of wood, and we've got our flush cut saw sitting in there. For the stuff on the top, the two squares kind of held in place by just having those in those grooves like that. But like things like the mallet and the coping saw and our saw, I just planed down little pieces, put a screw in there, and we can just screw that up to get our saw out. And then we put it back in, flip that back down, and that holds it in place when the lid comes down. So super happy with this. I think this turned out really, really well. Now we need to take everything back out of it, sand everything down, and get some finish on this. I'm going to take all the handles off, all the latches, basically strip everything apart and get it all sanded, and we're going to put some finish on that. So I'm just sanding with 220 grit. I started with 120. Now I'm down to 220, just on a block of wood like we did everything else. I'm just going through and feathering those edges around, make sure I don't have any sharp spots, anything rough. Doing all my sides, and I'll wipe it down now with a damp cloth, let it dry, and we'll put some finish on this. So for finishing this, I'm going to use this Minwax Poly Shades. It's a kind of a satin pecan color. It doesn't really put too much of a stain on it. It's more of just like a polyurethane with just a little hint of color. It gives it kind of a pecan color. We used it on the clock build when we built a clock a while ago out of pine. I really like how it looks on it, and it gives it a nice finish. So I'm just going to use that on this. I've got just a clean, soft bristle brush here. I'm going to take some of this and basically brush it on. So this is a polyurethane. It does take a little while to dry, so it does kind of float out. So you don't need to put it on too generously, just thin coat, let it soak in. You might have to go back and, as the wood kind of drinks it up, go and add some more where you see fit. But this gives a really nice, rich color to it. It just looks really nice. So makes the grain pop, but still shows the grain. And you don't need really any aftercare after this. I might put a coat of beeswax on it just to kind of give it that little bit of waterproofness and an extra little bit of shine. All right, that is it for the Harbor Freight Beginning Woodworkers Toolbox series. We built our toolbox. This thing is amazing. I really am really happy with how it turned out. Yes, there are mistakes. Yes, there's flaws and stuff in certain areas. It's not perfect. It's not supposed to be, right? We're learning. We're learning how to do stuff. So I'm really happy with how this turned out, but I am interested in what you think. Tell me down below in the comments, how do you think this toolbox turned out? If you built one of these, you follow along in the series, you built one, I would love to see yours. How did yours turn out? What'd you finish it with? Send me a picture. See my email in the description of my channel details. Send me an email. I'd be happy to show it on the channel if you want me to. What did you think of this series? This was a little bit more of an educational beginner series, you know, where I talked a lot more than normal. But, you know, let me know how you think this series went. Should I continue with this or just kind of go back to my old format of just building stuff and talking a little bit about it as I go? So, like I said, subscribe down below if you want to see more of this Harbor Freight woodworking builds in the future. Give me a thumbs up on this, share it out if you want to. Comment really helps the algorithm and push this video out to other people. But with all that, I know this was a long series. I really appreciate you for sticking with me. If you did subscribe along the way, we did pick up a few subscribers throughout this series off these videos. If you are new here, welcome to the channel. Take a look around. I got all different kinds of stuff. But with all that, I will see you on the next one.
Look, it was good to meet you, but, yeah. So, all right, I'm out of here.